Hey guys, I'm back. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 1 of my show, but this is about Episode 1 of Season 2. Now, before I actually start talking about it, I just want to mention two things. The first thing is, I'm only doing this video for tonight, and I'll do the second video for this week sometime tomorrow. Like maybe tomorrow afternoon or something. Or tomorrow in the evening. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. But anyway, this is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 1, which is also about Episode 1 of Season 2. And Episode 1 in Season 2 is known as A Flight to Remember. Now, basically, the way this episode starts off is... It starts off first with, Oh, and one other thing I should mention before I continue. I guess I should have mentioned this earlier when I started the video. This season has about 20 episodes, so there's going to be a lot of Futurama videos that I'm going to be doing for this season, but then the rest of the seasons after the first couple, now that I'm on the, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. So there's 20 episodes, so expect 20 or so videos, so expect 20 videos to come out for the first season. I just wanted to get that out of the way. But anyway, enough getting off topic. This is History of Futurama Season 2, Episode 1 of my show, but this is also, which is also about Episode 1. And Episode 1 in the Futurama second season is known as A Flight to Remember. Now, as the name of the episode states, basically what happens is, first, what happens, the episode starts off with, Professor Farnsworth giving an announcement to the Planet Express crew, like, "Good news, everyone! I've charted us aboard." He informs the Planet Express crew that he's giving them a reward. He's taking them all on a exotic cruise, space cruise, on the space cruiser Titanic, which is basically the series is equivalent of the Titanic ship from those movies and stuff. And then the crew is basically Frybender, Leela, Amy, and everyone is basically happy about that. And Farnsworth tells them that it's his way of thanking them for not reporting him on the countless violations that he had to have them endure, and reporting him for it. And basically, he shows them what the ship looks like, and then basically in the next scene what happens is, they go to the space docking port, where the ship is, and then Mayor Poopenmeyer is basically explaining about the ship, and he tells them that it's going on its maiden voyage, and then he basically says that, he said that he can think of no other person to, captain the ship than Zapp Brannigan. And then when Leela overhears that part, she's like, "Oh, not Zapp Brannigan." And Zoidberg's like, "You know Zapp Brannigan?" And then Leela's like, "We've crossed paths." Well, the reason why is because Zoidberg doesn't know about the fact that Leela slept with Zapp Brannigan in Season 1, because basically after she mentions the whole cross paths thing, which is her way of being sarcastic about them sleeping together, Ben's like basically, "Before or after you slept with them?" Oh my god, I am so sorry, but that's hilarious. Before or after? Oh I'm sorry. Anyway, basically, Zapp basically said that the ship is good, and he christens the ship Titanic, and then afterward they get on the ship, and then everyone is enjoying their time on the ship, and then basically, everyone's doing their own thing on the ship, and then basically, well, actually, first what happens is, before they get on the ship, Leela has Fry pretend to be her date to basically avoid getting into contact with Zapp Brannigan. Now that part is actually going to play a little bit of a small conundrum. What I mean by small conundrum is basically it's going to complicate things because what I'm going to explain later on in the episode. I just wanted to get that out of the way. And then, basically what happens is after, Leela tries to introduce Fry to Zapp to pretend to be her fiancé, basically, like her boyfriend sort of thing, to avoid him, and then basically, they get on the ship, and then after that what happens is they're all enjoying their time on the ship in different ways, and in Bender's case, he's basically, he basically spends his time at the casino portion of the ship. Like, he's looking around the ship and stuff, and then he sees this female robot who he sort of gets a crush on in this episode. Now, the robot in question is known as Countess De La Roca, and I'm going to explain more about her. I'm going to mention more about her now. She's basically a robot that Bender has a crush on for this episode. I say only for this episode, because she will sort of, because of what's going to happen later on in this episode. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm not going to say what happens until I get to that point. I just wanted to mention it. But basically what happens is, what happens after that is, Bender then tries to basically fool the Countess into thinking that he's rich by having this magnetic bow tie on and stuff, and then after a little bit, that what happens is Fry and Leela are still trying to pretend, to be, in love to sort of fool Zapp Brannigan, but basically, and Amy's away at her portion on a different part of the ship, and she's enjoying the trip until her parents show up. Now, this leads into what I mentioned before, with where it's gonna complicate things. Basically, because after she sees her parents there, she's wondering what they're doing, and then Leo basically says, that they were planning on enjoying a nice vacation, but since she's there, they're gonna have to do some meddling. Oh my god. I'm sorry. And now I'm gonna backtrack back to Bender. After Bender goes with the Countess, to her room on the ship, and he tries to take the bracelet that she has, but then he stops, and then it goes into the scene where he's back at the bar. I'm skipping back to this because the part where he's at the bar kind of leads into what happens with Amy revealing herself, because basically she told her parents that she already had a boyfriend, which is also the same person that Leela is pretending, so I'm just backtracking here to this part. And then basically what happens is, Bender explains that basically what happens is after Bender refuses to pay the bartender robot for his drink, the bartender robot calls some security robots over, and he's like, security to bar area, security to bar area, and then they start beating on him, and then the Countess basically wonders what they're doing, and then Isaac, who's the bartender robot in this episode, explains that the penniless jerk was trying to steal drinks without paying, and then she says, and then basically what she does is she pays for the drinks to get Bender out of the conundrum, and which causes the security bots to leave, and then basically what happens is getting back on track with that, what happens is Fry and Leela are trying to enjoy a normal time on the cruise without, when Fry puts his hand on Leela's shoulder, and then Leela's telling him to take it off before she breaks. Well, actually, what happens is, because basically for the beginning segment of this, when they went on the ship, I'm just backtracking here again. When they got on the ship, they were going to these different decks. I'm just skipping over some minor details. Well, because it's not really that I forgot it, it's just I skipped over it. But I'm just backtracking to this part to mention it. And after they get into their room, they all leave, and then basically Fry tries to put his arm around Leela's shoulder, but then she told him to basically take it off before she breaks it off. But then she has to have Fry put his hand around her again to fool Zapp, and then basically that leads into I just wanted to mention that since it also sort of leads into what's going to happen with the next part I was going to talk about. Leela said that she was beginning to think that this pretending that their fiancé thing was a whole bad idea. But that's when Zapp shows up, and then Zapp explains that he tells Leela that basically if things don't work out with that with Fry, he'll be able to pounce on her on the rebound, and basically what happens is speaking of Zapp for this episode, what happens is he makes this little bit of a funny joke when Kif comes up to the ship. He's like, Kif, I'm feeling the captain's itch, and then Kif wonders, Kif thinks he means the itch like an itch that you have to, part of the crotch that you kind of feel like you have to scratch, so he said that he'll get the powder, but then Zapp's like, no, the itch for adventure. So he says that because of his itch for adventure, he decides to change the ship's course, but then Kif explains that they can't because the ship's travel course this is a luxury cruise set by the travel agency. They can't change the course. And then basically, after that, Zapp does this whole thing with the map where he draws on it where it zigs and zags. And then basically, what happens is, he says that path that Zapp's put them on puts them into a swarm of comets, and then Zapp makes a joke about that, which is like, yes, comets, the icebergs of the sky, which is, I say that's funny because in an ironic way, a comet is essentially an iceberg of the sky, because it's basically something that a frozen chunk of space, rock that flies through the air, so it's sort of like at a high speed, so it's sort of like and it's sort of frozen, so essentially it's a space rock that's cold, so it is sort of like an iceberg of the cosmos, basically. And then basically what happens is, after that, what happens is, basically, afterward, they're doing this limbo competition on the cruise ship, and then basically Barbara, who is Hermes, his wife in this episode, is basically telling him that he can out-limbo all of them, but then basically Hermes says that he can't. He says, "Don't be daft, woman. You know I can't. Not after what happened." And they actually show what happened, and they explain as to... Now, remember what I said when I did Hermes' character bio video, when I said that he was also a person who did limbo, which is basically a sport where you bend yourself down to basically fit under a bar, like a limbo bar kind of thing. But I also explained that he doesn't do it anymore because he's retired from it. Now, I'm actually going to explain the reason for why he's retired, since it comes up in this flashback. Basically, the reason why he's retired from limboing is because he once limboed for Earth at the Olympics in the future, but basically what happened was he got traumatized by an incident, and the incident wasn't something that actually happened to him. It was actually something that happened to a little kid that was in the stands. Basically, in the episode, in the flashback, the kid goes off the stands into the limbo field to try to be like Hermes to limbo underneath the bar, and then Hermes telling the kid no, he can't because his body can't take it, and he says that he's just like Hermes. He's just like Hermes, and then as he bends back, his spine snaps, which instantly kills him, and then Hermes gets upset in the flashback, and that goes back to the present, and then basically Barbara basically says that that he doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to. It doesn't make him any less of a man. And then basically after that, that's when the professor shows up and he says that it sure did get him some action. And then basically that's when Zapp basically tells the passengers of the ship that he's in charge of announcing the winner of the limbo competition, and he says that it's Leela, and then Leela wonders why she's the one because she didn't even limbo. But Zapp basically says that he knows from experience how low she can get, and as is her reward, her and that hair pile, and by hair pile he means Fry, are invited to the captain's table for dinner, basically. Oh, and remember what I said when Amy also said that Fry was her boyfriend? That when I said that complicated thing, that leads into what happens at the dinner table thing. I just wanted to get that out of the way. What happens is, after that, Bender is explaining to the Countess that now she knows that he's not rich and everything. He's a poor, hopeless robot. And that the bow tie that he has isn't even a real bow tie. It's magnetic, and he throws it away. And then the Countess basically says that she doesn't care if he has money or not. She loves him for his artificial intelligence and his sincerity modulator, and then that's when it does this sort of romantic sort of montage with Bender and the Countess, sort of like a whole Titanic kind of thing. And then after that, it goes to the scene, where they're, on the cruise ship at having a feast, and then basically what happens is, basically, Zapp is saying a toast to the new couple, and he's telling Fry to rent. He's wanting Fry to kiss someone, and he's like, woman. And then basically, Leo says that basically, with the whole movie, she kissed his daughter because Amy told her parents that Fry was her boyfriend, and Leela told Zapp that Fry was hers, and then and because basically they entered this conundrum where they both showed up at the table where Fry couldn't pretend to be both of their boyfriends, and then basically Fry explains that he learned how to do it from a movie. I can't really remember what the movie was called, but I know it was a movie that was a comedy movie and stuff about, I think it was Three's Company, I think. But anyway, after Leo mentions that he should kiss his daughter, and then basically, Farnsworth gets confused by that, and he wonders because he's confused who Fry's involved with, if it's Leela or Amy, and then basically, that's when Kif shows up, and then basically what happens is he's telling Zapp that he has to have him return to the front of the ship, and he says that, but Zapp says that not now, and then Kif's like, it's an emergency, sir, and then Zapp's like, come back when it's a catastrophe, and then he realizes the comets are hitting it, so he goes with Kif back to the front of the ship, and then that's when Amy says that, well, with Zapp gone and my parents still here, I think Fry should give me he's convincing kids, which he says he can't fail with that logic. And then basically, what happens is after that, basically, Kif mentions to Zapp about how his course correction puts them in comet field, which is what he tried to warn him about, and then basically Zapp said that they don't need to worry because they can just change course, but by the time they try to do that, it's already a little too late, and then they accidentally, because when they change course, they end up falling into close to like a black hole kind of thing. And then, so basically by getting away from the comets, they escaped one disaster and put them into another one. Oh my god. Anyway, because of what's happening with the black hole, the ship is being basically torn apart, and basically they're having everyone abandon ship, going through these escape pods. And then basically what happens is, when everyone's going to be evacuated from the escape pods, Bender says that he stays behind. He wants to stay behind to find some valuable stuff to steal one last time before the ship is sucked into the black hole. But then Fry realizes that he's going back because he's going after the Countess, and then Bender gets embarrassed by that, and then he says that he is, but he doesn't want the others to know. So if they ask, just tell them he died trying to rob an old corpse, and then basically Fry says that he'll tell them that he went down trying to steal a ring off the old off the old corpse's finger, and then basically he goes back to where the Countess is, and after he uses his fire hose to set her free, basically they this is the funny part of the episode. He said that after she saves him, he's like, and I do it again, and perhaps a third time, but that would be it. And then they do the kissing thing, which is kind of funny for this episode. Now, the funny part of it is that he said that he'd do it again and perhaps a third time, but that would be it. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I just find that part hilarious. Anyway, they start getting to the escape pods, and then after all the escape pods are launched, Leela says that Bender's been gone too long, and then they have to leave without him, and then basically, by this point in the episode, Zapp's given up his position as captain and transferred command of the ship over to Kif. Now, that actually leads into what's going to happen at the... I just mentioned that because that's going to lead into what's going to happen at the end. Because... And it's also going to play a hand in one of the later seasons of episodes I'm going to be talking about. I just wanted to mention it. But basically after... Amy finds her parents. They mentioned that they found a nice plan for her and Captain, and that's Kif, and then basically that's the part I just wanted to mention it. And then they managed to eject from the escape pods after waiting for Bender for too long. Oh, one last thing I should mention before they actually got off the ship into the escape pods. Before they actually got off the ship into the escape pods, they were running to where the escape pods were on the ship. And when they were running towards where the escape pods were on the ship, they came across this door that was falling, like it was automatically closing itself, but Zoidberg managed to stop it from closing by putting his claw in, and they realized that they can't open it because the door releases on the other side. And then basically Hermes says that that's an opportunity for him to get back into Limbo Wing, and then basically after he limbos under the door, he said that he still got it, and then he tells Zoidberg to lower the door another inch, and then basically, because he wants to be a show-off, basically, and then basically LeVar was like, just go on and hit the release, you hot dog! And then he basically does that, and then basically that's when they got to the escape pods, and then basically after they got onto the last escape pod, and they couldn't wait for Bender anymore, Fry said goodbye to Bender because he thinks Bender's not going to make it, because he's going to be sucked into the black hole. But after the final escape pod launches, Bender and the Countess managed to grab onto it, but because they grabbed onto it, they're a couple of metric tons overweight, and then the Countess starts slipping from her bracelet, and then Bender says that he can't live without her. If she lets go, he lets go, and then basically the Countess says that one day he'll share his love again. It might take a while, but he will. After all, it's shareware, and then basically Bender says that don't talk like that. Tragic romances always have a happy ending. And then basically she lets go and falls into the black hole. And then after that, Bender gets upset that when she gets sucked in, she's like, farewell! And then Bender gets upset that she got sucked in, and then he tells them that she's gone, and then basically Leela says that, but she saved their lives. Without her, they're light enough to get away. And then he says that at least he still has her bracelet, and then he asks Hermes what it's worth, but then Hermes looks at it and tells him it's fake. He's like, it's fake, man, and then he gets upset about that because he thought it was real, but it wasn't. I think he was going to try to pawn it off sort of as a way to honor her memory, like sell it for cash kind of thing, but if it's fake, he can't do that. And that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys probably sometime either tomorrow or the day after for the next video. But until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And like I always tell you with this series, fun on a button.